I see this question all the time. Jan asked us this question, and it was how to encourage people who don't exercise to start exercising and maintain it. You know, what is the approach to kind of spurring someone to engage with exercise, whether it's walking, running, cycling, or strength training? A kind of broad summary, like a very basic overview of self-determination theory, is that people generally have this kind of inherent intrinsic drive toward growth and learning and self-improvement and self-actualization. We do have this kind of drive to learn new things and acquire new skills and get better and better and better. That is kind of written in our code. But in order for us to really strive toward goals and reach toward growth and self-improvement and self-actualization, we need some basic psychological needs to be met in order to kind of set the foundation for that and to really set us up for success. And within this theory, the three main pillars are relatedness, competence, and autonomy. So in order for us to start really making these big goal-related strides towards something that's going to be good for us, you know, some kind of self-improvement or growth or actualization, relatedness refers to the fact that we want to feel part of something. We want to feel tapped into a community. We want to feel like this means something outside of just our personal experience with it. Competence, of course, means that we have self-efficacy. We feel like we're actually capable of doing what we're setting out to do. And autonomy means that we have some degree of control over it. We have the ability to kind of set the trajectory that we're on and kind of set our own short and intermediate term goals and determine how we go about goal striving, not just following instructions. So what I would encourage people, and I should mention that one of the huge elements of self-determination theory is the idea of motivation. And more specifically that there are distinct types of motivation that fall on a spectrum. So if you dig into the self-determination theory literature, you'll actually see figures that show this spectrum or this continuum of motivation. And on one end, it starts with amotivation. So just complete lack of motivation, which is obviously one end of the spectrum, kind of the most extreme end. On the other end of the spectrum is intrinsic motivation. So motivation that is derived from within. And then kind of the middle ground, you know, it's better than no motivation, but not as powerful, not as effective as intrinsic motivation. In the middle there, you find certain forms of extrinsic motivation. And that's really important because when I see people trying to encourage others to adopt exercise and engage with exercise, a lot of times I feel like they're really, they would be much better off if they had this theory in mind. And what I mean by that is with relatedness, a great thing you can do to help somebody adopt exercise is to let them know that you are on their team. It's a support thing. So it's not like if you don't exercise, you let me down. It's more, we're in this together. I'm here to support you. You can lean on me. And I also think it's important that you offer up the idea that, you know, you may want some support when you're starting this process of adopting exercise, and you might not want it to be me. You might want to start exercise in a group fitness setting, or join a club or a team, or hire a coach, or hire a trainer, or any number of ways that you can have some kind of social group associated with exercise. And the important thing is, if you're really trying to help someone else, don't be selfish about it and say, yeah, here's some relatedness. I'm your guy. And your relatedness as it pertains to exercise is that you rely on me as your support group. You have to give them the opportunity to self-select a really effective support group, which can take many different forms. The next thing, competence. Sometimes I'll see people who say, hey, you should really be lifting weights and you should probably be doing it 4 times a week, and you should probably doing, a very specific form of resistance exercise. But they don't give them the tools to actually feel competent, right? It's there. A lot of times you see people who just kind of shove people into the deep end and say, hey, here's a program. It's 4 days a week. Half of these are like Olympic lifts or highly skilled barbell movements. Anyway, good luck. And by the way, if you don't adopt this successfully, you kind of suck.
Yeah.
Like, you have to equip people with competence.
Yeah, here's a program called Starting Strength. You can learn it from this book. You don't need someone to teach you. And also, one of the exercises is power cleans. Have fun.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to make sure you're fostering relatedness in a non-selfish way. You want to make sure that you're fostering competence by either, kind of guiding them through it, showing them the ropes, equipping them with resources that really are meeting them where they're at and not where you think they ought to be. And then the final thing is autonomy. So sometimes people will say, I'm going to provide you support. So there's your relatedness. I'm going to teach you how to do this. So that's competence. But also, I'm going to insist that you do everything a very particular way. And what they do there is they detract from autonomy. They don't say, hey, there are many ways to engage in exercise. Let's explore that entire menu and you can pick the things that you like. Instead, it's like, hey, on Tuesdays we squat and you're squatting with me and you got to squat my way. And if I like high bar and you like low bar, sorry, you're a high bar squatter. So what you find is that a lot of people who have tried this in the past and failed, I think self-determination theory provides some really clear examples of why there is failure there. So you have to make sure that someone is able to find a support group that really resonates and works for them. You have to make sure that they have opportunities to develop the competence required to engage in exercise regularly. And you have to offer them a level of autonomy and independence so that they can really start to kind of foster that intrinsic motivation. But in a lot of cases, you've got people who say, no, you have to do it a certain way. You have no autonomy because I give you your programs, and there's no idea of, there's not even a concept of intrinsic motivation. I'm going to tell you what to do. So your motivation comes from me, which is an extrinsic, and you have absolutely no autonomy in the process. So my answer is, like I said, first of all, make sure that you are truly operating with their best interest in mind and not yours. And then lean on some of these pillars of self-determination theory so that you can put them in a position to succeed, to develop that intrinsic motivation. And once someone truly feels a sense of relatedness and they feel competent and they feel like they have autonomy and they have that intrinsic motivation because you've helped them understand that this is truly in their best interest, I think that's where it really sticks.